waiting to hear from you, so get those comments in.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Red and Blue Review podcast with me, Ian Noble, hosting this evening. As you can see from a slightly different location, I'm here on my holiday home on the Isle of Wight. I'm here with the family. So I actually missed the game yesterday, had to settle for Sky TV. So welcome to everyone, Palace fans throughout the world. So it's great to have you with us. And joining me on the show tonight, I have a few familiar faces and one new one. First up, Paul Guehi, aka the real panel. Good evening, Paul. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you, Ian. Yeah, hello everyone. Ready to go for a new season. Started with a bang yesterday in lots of ways, so let's get into it.
Excellent, thank you, my friend. And also Ireland's finest, Fergus Tidd. Evening, Ferg. How are you?
Evening, mate. Evening, everybody. Yeah, very well, thank you, Ian. Yeah, even after yesterday's debacle.
Absolutely. So we'll come to that. We'll have a lot of time to talk about that this evening. And our final guest on the show tonight, panelist, is Yasmin Broom. A full debut, Yaz. You've been on the show before, but good evening. How are you?
Hi, Ian. I'm fine. Yep, I came for a small cameo last time, and now I'm full.
You're making your full debut as a late replacement for Lindsay Simpson from the DSA, who sadly had to pull out today because she's got sunstroke, believe it or not, from sitting in the away end. She clearly hadn't consulted the baseball cap advisory committee. So I told her it was a schoolgirl error, and we'll see her on the show next time. So if you're watching, Linz, get well soon, my friend. Really good to have everyone with us tonight, everyone watching. Welcome, everyone joining us, watching the show. It's really good. Alice says, hello, Yasmin. She's so witty, your daughter. Brilliant stuff. Listen, before we get into the show proper, Yaz, your first time on the show. Let's find out a little bit about you. How long have you been supporting Crystal Palace?
So I've been supporting Palace actually since 1990. So I liked football, but I used to go to Speedway at Wimbledon. And then I watched the FA Cup final, 1990, and I was supporting Palace because I wanted the underdogs to win, and that it started from there, really.
That's right. And you used to steward on coaches and that kind of thing, didn't you, back in the day?
Yeah, I used to be on coach too, and used to make the hot drinks and curse anyone that asked for a bovril because of the smell of it. And yeah, I used to go to, well, I've started to do it again now, but I used to go to every single game, home and away, pre-season tours to the West Country and stuff like that. So yeah.
And last season, am I right in saying you went to every single first team game, home and away, cups and league? You didn't miss one, did you?
No, went to every single one, and it was pretty hard going at first.
And what was the most challenging game for you last season to get to then, do you think?
Well, Plymouth away was challenging, not to get to, but on the way back, because we came back on the sleeper train, but we didn't actually have sleeping carriages. So we were on a carriage with everybody. We just got a seat, and then it stopped for hours at Reading, and there was a woman that kept on talking. And it was also very, very cold. I don't know if they were trying to keep us all awake, but...
So 5 o'clock in the morning, you got back to Paddington. Yeah. So, you're a proper supporter. Great to have you on, Yaz. Really good to have you. And there's a lot of love for you in the chat already. Hi from Plymouth, says Paul Bristow. Welcome, Yasmin, says George. Paul Holden, hi, Yasmin. Happy debut. I'm sure it will be. Before we get into the events of yesterday, if you do follow us on social media, thank you for doing so. Big shout out to Tom Clark Samuel on our Instagram page. Do follow us on Instagram if you can and comment. There we go. It's red_and_blue_review. Tom puts on pre-show stuff, match reviews, and all that kind of stuff. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Red Blue Review 8132 is where you'll find us. You know that because you're watching live now, or you're watching on catch up. Also a shout out to Andrew Adams, who posts some really good content on the Facebook group, Red and Blue Review Facebook group. So thank you for doing that, Andrew. And I'm the one that normally leads on X with Nigel, our producer guy, chipping in from time to time. So do follow us on social media, comment, but especially subscribe to our YouTube and tell other Palace fans that you know to do likewise if you would. Guys, before we get into the game yesterday, I just want to talk about events of the past week. I think it's been quite an unprecedented week in the life of Crystal Palace Football Club in leading up to the start of the 24-25 season with the transfer saga that's surrounded Marc Guehi. Not one, not two, not three, but 4 separate bids from Newcastle United with a view to buying the England international. They still haven't matched the required asking price, and I've never known anything quite like this. So let's get your views on it. Paul, first of all, what's your take on the Guehi transfer saga? Do you think he will stay, or do you think he will go? Because the window doesn't close for another 11 days or so.
Yeah, I think he will go. I don't actually think he'll go to Newcastle. I think someone else will come in for him. There's actually rumours today Liverpool are sniffing around again. I think basically we have a price. Someone matches it, they have him. If anyone's got a spare hour, there was a very good interview on Talk Sport yesterday at 9 o'clock in the morning. Steve Parish was on for an hour with a couple of journalists. It was really good listening, and he talked about the Marc Guehi thing and how they were dealing with it. And I think basically, yeah, if someone comes out and offers 75 million, he'll go. I think they've decided on 75. If you look at recent people like Fofana, he went with 75 last year. Maguire, even years ago, was more than that. Van Dijk. So I think that's his price. And I think if someone goes, he'll leave.
Interesting. Okay, but not necessarily to Newcastle, you think?
No. I would prefer him not to. I mean, to be fair, I think he deserves better than Newcastle. I mean, I don't think they're that much of a step up from us. These okay, a bigger club, bigger ground, more fans. They're not in Europe, anything like that. I think he should be aiming for a top 6 club, and I think someone will come in for him last minute. Even if once Newcastle have agreed a fee, maybe they might try and hijack it.
On the back of that, then, if he is going to go, Fergus, were you surprised to see him in the starting lineup yesterday?
No, not really. It sounds like I mean, I don't know where they got this figure from, 65 million. I think it's Sky Sports have just picked a number out of the air, and we were chatting about it yesterday. And one of your friends, Ian Paul, said that it's almost like by the 4th bid, well, you have to sell him now because we've made 4 bids. By default, he has to go. And it's like, well, no, because you're 10 million off the asking price. And what they probably are also doing is they want it in instalments. They're not going to put, most of the money up front. It's some sort of, they're going to break it down into instalments. That's not what Palace want. Palace want the money up front so they can reinvest it potentially in new players. And if they're 10 million off the mark, I'm not surprised to see him in the team. And to be honest with you, even if Palace accept the bid at 75 million, it's then up to Marc. They have to have a conversation with Marc and say, do you want to go to Newcastle? And for me, they're not in Europe. I don't see it as a step up. It's a step to the side. Somebody like Liverpool, I get it. Because they're in the Champions League and, they're going to win trophies potentially. I mean, Newcastle haven't won anything, have they, for 40 years, is it? So it's a bit of a strange one for me.
They last won the FA Cup in 1955, so there you go.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, no, and I'm glad he played. I know we'll come on to the game. I don't think he had the greatest of games, but that's not surprising because he's probably carrying that weight on his shoulders, knowing that, it's a topic of conversation almost every day.
Sure. And he's done a BBC interview, of course, in the last week as well with Kelly Summers, which I thought was really good. Did you get a chance to see that yet? We didn't rehearse this bit, so you might not have done.
No, I didn't see all of it, but I did see the bit where he said he felt very humbled by being called a superstar. But I think that's exactly what he is. And I think for once we're holding out, and I think that's a good thing. I don't know how he could go for less than Harry Maguire. So I don't want him to go. I know he's one we could probably carry on without, but I do think he's going to be an England captain one day. I'd love for Palace to have an England captain playing for them, but if he won't sign a new contract, we don't really have much choice but to sell him if we get the right price.
Yeah, I think you're right there, and I think if the money's right, I think it is the 75 million mark, and we get close to the end of this window. What I like about the way we're handling ourselves in this situation is that we have the replacements lined up. Arguably, we have the replacement already at the club in Riyadh, and the Moroccan boy. but also we're after, who are we after? Is the guy that was at Wolfsburg? Remind me.
Lacroix.
Lacroix, that's the one. Lacroix. Well done, Fergus, for pronouncing it correctly. Apparently, he's playing for Wolfsburg this evening, so they've got the same attitude as we have towards Marc Guehi. But I think he's a player that Glasner admires, and we've heard some really good reports from him. So if he came in and Guehi went, then I think that would be not a bad move for Crystal Palace Football Club. And I said all along, of all our big players, he's the one we've probably missed the most, least even. Don't know why I said most. Probably missed the least, given that he didn't really play under Glasner during this wonderful run last season, aside from the final game when he played out of position. So there we are. So let's get on to the Brentford game, guys. Of course, pre-match, there were some issues. So before we get into the match itself, there were some concerns pre-match. Now, all three of you were at the game. I wasn't, but all three of you were. Tell us a little bit. I'm going to start with you, Paul, and then we'll come to Yaz and then Ferg. Your experiences going to the ground yesterday. Tell us what it was like, Paul.
Yeah, well, we get there very early. We all go as a group, and we get there early. So we're there pretty much as the turnstiles open. We go through. You go through the search queue, show your ticket. Everything's normal at this point. And then I go down one queue, and Yaz, my niece, and Yaz's daughter go down the women's queue. Also good. I get to the front, and the guy starts searching me as normal. Ask me to take my hat off. I do that. Fine, no problems. Everything's okay at this point. He gets further down, and next thing you know, he sticks his hand in my pocket, takes out my wallet, and then before I know what he's doing, he's opening the wallet and he's rifling through everything in there. And I said to him, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm sorry, this is a legal requirement." I was like, "Well," I took it back off him and said, "Maybe you should ask of that." And the next thing, he's in my hand in my pocket again, taking my keys, and he gives the most forensic check of the keys I've ever seen. It's a bunch of keys, nothing special. And then he continues to pat down my legs inside and out. Even I'm wearing shorts, and he's patting my bare calves and shins. I mean, what I'm going to smuggle it under my skin, I don't know. And he comes back up, and as you say, it felt. We get searched every week. We know what a football ground search is like, and it was extreme. And I went through, and I wasn't very impressed, but I was through, so I didn't say anything. And I turned around, and the next thing I see, my niece is being subjected to, a very thorough search, shall we say, which I felt a little bit uncomfortable watching. But you don't know what to do at this time. You're sort of. You don't know what's going on with it. So yeah, she was being searched left, right, and centre, being patted down in places I would not expect her to be patted down at a football ground. Ooh. Probably having every inch of her body touched. It wasn't good. But obviously Yaz was next, so I'll pass on to Yaz to sort of carry on.
Yaz, you were there as well. Then bad experience for you, I understand.
Really bad. So they went through my bag, which is normal. I normally hold the bag open for them so they can see what's in it. She started to take things out. Before I knew it, she took out my purse and opened it. And I was like, "What do you think you're doing?" She goes, "I need to check in your purse." I said, "But that's a purse. What do you think I have in my purse?" And then I had another bag that sometimes ladies will have in there. And I did actually lose my temper with her and say, "You're not opening that in front of a load of men at a football game." Mm-hmm. And she tried to reassure me. But I said, "No, I'm sorry." Anyway. Then I went to the one who was doing the search, and oh my goodness, I've never known anything like it. As Paul said, it was thorough, is the polite word for it. I mean, that her hands were everywhere, and it was just absolutely unbelievable. And I think I must have been saying something, and I don't remember what. And a bloke came over and he said, "What's the problem here?" And I told him what the problem was. And they both said, "Well, there's a number on the back of the ticket. Ring that if you're not happy." And I was sort of like, "Well, I'll be doing something, but I don't know what, And you just felt horrible because their hands have been everywhere. Okay. And we all have a search where they go like this, have a wand, have a dog sniff you, whatever. But this was just something else.
Unbelievable. Mark Callahan says he wouldn't have taken my wallet, that's for sure. Kevin Lampard, same happened to me, Paul. The security checks were OTT. This is Keith Parker says, "Guys, is this worth reporting? Sounds iffy at the least." Yeah, absolutely, it's worth reporting. Now, Yaz, you've sent an email already, haven't you, to Brentford Football Club?
Yeah, so I sent that last night to their report email. I did get a reply today. First of all, they said they gave me a number of reasons why they're searching. They said they've had massive drug taking and they've managed to reduce it drastically by carrying out these searches. They gave me some laws where, not the law, but laws for the stadium. And if you don't allow them to search, you won't be allowed in. Sorry.
Okay.
And then they also said about the physical search, because I said I felt violated, which I did. And they said they wanted details. And someone else from Brentford, the security person, contacted me. And I sent them the details of what we were wearing, colour of our hair, etc. But again, I emphasised to them, this does not happen to us anywhere else in the country. And I said to them, it's just not on. I sent 2 emails to them, so I'll wait for them to come back to me with the CCTV.
Okay. Ferg, very briefly, did you have the same experience?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I got to the game a little bit later than Paul and Yaz, but yeah, I was searched top to bottom. I had reading glasses in my side pocket. They asked me to take them out. My wallet was in my top pocket. They told me to take that out, so I took my wallet out. It just took it out of my hands and started rifling through it. And I was like, "Oh, hang on, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I just need to check your wallet." I said, "Well, what are you looking for?" "I'm looking for drugs." So I said, "So you think I'm going to smuggle drugs in my wallet, do you?" And he said, "Well, I'm sorry, but I've been told that I need to look." So anyway, he's gone through my wallet, he gave it back. Now I've walked past him towards the entrance to put my ticket, and someone stepped in front of me and went, whoa, you can't come in without being searched. I said, "Well, I've just been searched." So then he had to confirm with his colleague that I'd already been searched, and he let me in. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, it wasn't the same for everyone. Paul Bristow says, "I must be too old to be touched up." I shouldn't laugh, should I? He just glanced in my bag and gave me the normal pat down. I've got another a view here. This guy is 61. This is anonymous, by the way. This guy's 61 years old, 55 years watching Palace. Humiliating behaviour of the stewards. He says, leaving aside the invasive and intimate body searching I experienced, I removed everything from my pocket, as asked, phone, glasses, case and card holder. This is pretty bad. The steward went through my card holder, removing everything from it. This included a photo of my recently deceased father. Also in the holder, I had 2 tablets in the packaging, and he proceeded to wave them around in front of others, asking loudly what these were for. This was actually a personal question. It was obvious that it was a prescribed medication. Found this to be extremely insensitive, unprofessional, not in the bounds of body searching. Blah, blah, blah. So look, guys, I just hope that Brentford Football Club sort this out, because for the sake of other visiting fans this season and us when we go back there next season, just completely over the top. And as I said pre-show to you guys, I'm glad I wasn't there, because I might not have got in. Fergus.
It'd be interesting to see if they did the same for the Brentford fans. And
They
not
don't.
just Palace.
No, they don't, apparently.
So straight away,
Yeah, Paul.
Apparently, there's lots of stories online. People saying exactly the same experience as us. Most people in the ground we spoke to were saying exactly the same. And having a read around today, apparently there was a lot of complaints lastly by Bournemouth fans and Everton fans about the way they were searched when they go. So it's not an isolated incident. It's but it doesn't appear to be every time, unless it's not reporting it. But yeah, something's not right there, and it's not how people should be treated. No one minds being searched. We do it every week. We don't have a problem with it. So it's not us. That yesterday was too far.
Okay, let's move on then to the game itself. Once you got in the ground, I guess the mood was pretty optimistic, positive. Probably the most, I think I might have said this on last week's show, probably the most optimistic I felt pre-season, going into a season since we got promoted, with everything that happened towards the end of last season. The additions we've made, yes, we've sold Michael Elise, that's well documented, but he's the only one that's left that really we're worried about, and we've added some really good players to the squad. So in the ground, optimistic, positive mood pre-match. Yeah,
everyone was
positive.
Yeah, the team was as expected. It was what we played in the friendly, I think, pretty much the week before, with Mateta coming back.
Talk us through the team then, Paul. Talk us through the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Henderson has been chosen as the number 1 goalie. He's got the number 1 shirt. It's quite interesting. Most people I know prefer Sam. I certainly do, but let's be honest, they're very close. And I always remember a couple of years ago, Mourinho had a similar choice with Cech and Courtois. And I always remember he always said, if you've got two goalies that are very similar, you go with the younger one. And there's a logic to that, obviously. And that's for maybe one of the reasons he's gone. But yeah, Henderson's the number one, so he was in goal. The normal back line with Mitchell and Munoz as your wing backs, Richard Anderson, obviously, and Guehi was playing. So realistically, currently, that's our strongest back line. Adam Walton, of course, superstar. He's always going to play now. So it's a case of now who's going to play with him. And obviously, we had Doucouré, Lerma, and Hughes. I think Hughes has played the most minutes in pre-season and has done well. So he obviously got the nod. And then up front, obviously, Kamada, Eze, Mateta. I think, there was no issues with that starting lineup at all.
Surprised to see Jean-Philippe Mateta included, having come back just on Wednesday from the Olympics?
No, that was his pre-season. It was a tougher pre-season than he liked. He had a couple of extra times and everything, which is why I think he came off early. But, I don't think it was a problem to start him, certainly. And
the bench as strong as we've seen it for a long time as well, yes?
Definitely.
Yeah. Good. Fergus, right. So you were at the game. Don't do too many aways, do you? Do one or two, but you don't do too many. But you were there yesterday. Talk us through the game then, Ferg. The talking points, the main talking points from yesterday.
All right. So beautiful sunny day, kicked off. I think the team's first 10, 15 minutes of feeling each other out. I'd say we probably edged it, maybe just a little bit, as they had a few chances. He had a shot that was deflected. But I think, well, the most contentious part, I will get onto it straight away, is the free kick. He has a free kick on 26 minutes. It looked like, Walton was sort of standing over it, and it looked like he might be sort of like going to cross it into the box. And Eze's obviously saw a gap, maybe whispered to him, let me have this one. Keeper was, way over on the other side of his goal. So it was there for the taking. And with Eze's quality, ref blows the whistle, takes the free kick, and it hits the post and into the back of their net. But unfortunately, during that ball travelling between Eze's foot and the goal, the ref decides that he's seen an infringement on the edge of the box. I think he thought Hughes had fouled a Brentford player, and it probably at the time looked worse than it was, because there was two Brentford players that fell to the floor. But actually what had happened was one of them had gone to pull Hughes back, missed it, lost his balance. He went, another player went down with him. So actually, it was probably a foul on Hughes rather than the other way around. But because the ref had blown the whistle, he disallowed the goal. And because he'd blown the whistle, it couldn't be reviewed by VAR. So the goal wasn't given. You could see the frustration on Eze's face, all the players surrounding the referee.
In the away end, how much do you know about this? How much was, you saw the ball go in the net, you saw it quickly dismissed and a free kick to them. What did you think happened when you were watching it live?
To be honest with you, I really didn't know. I mean, it happened so quick and the decision was made so quickly. You almost thought, well, okay, was somebody offside or it was a foul? They're bringing in this new rule about blocking, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I think maybe it was an opportunity for the ref to sort of like show his strength and go, right, okay, look, I'm not having this, guys. If you're blocking people off. The fact that he wasn't interfering with play and it was miles away from, the free kick was direct straight into the goal. But yeah, it was like, okay, it's been disallowed because we've committed a foul. Turns out that it was anything but.
Let me come to Paul.
Yeah, I think the goal is a chain of calamitous events for the referee. I think there's an unwritten rule. There's a lot of unwritten rules in football. Like if a defender falls over with it being breathed on in a corner flag, he'll get a foul when an attacker wouldn't. There's fouls that would be given in the box that aren't outside. But there's this other thing where if a referee gives a free kick or a corner, that he sort of then starts doubting whether it was a free kick or a corner. You just know the first second he's going to blow up the other way and try and just eliminate it, level up, whatever. So I think when he started that free kick, I think he knew, or he decided, I'm not sure about this, as soon as he whips it in, I'm going to blow for an imaginary foul or whatever, and it'll all be sorted. That was I think his first calamitous mistake. His second mistake was he didn't even anticipate there would be a shot, because if he thinks he's going to shoot, he can let him do it. Let him shoot. If it goes out, Brentford got the ball back. If the keeper catches it, Brentford got the ball back. if something happens with it, he can still call a foul anyway. So he's made a decision. He didn't. No one in the ground really expected Eze to shoot, so the ref probably didn't either. But that's why he's not done it. So, and then the third thing is obviously, as we say, the second the ball's been kicked, the ball's nowhere near the play, so he's not even looking at the ball. He's just looking for a foul. He's deliberately looking for a foul, and as we said, he's blown up too quickly, leaving himself no room and taking VAR out of the equation. And as we said, the fourth calamity was it wasn't even a foul, not even for them. So he's, as I say, he's caused his own problems with it, and it's a disgrace. And then, as we say, you've got the rule, because the whistle's blown while the ball's in play, they can't review it. And okay, people say, well, common sense, yeah, whatever. But once the whistle is blown, the goalie could stop, the defenders could stop. It's not natural play at that point, so you have to kill it. But yeah, it was, as they say, if he waited 2 seconds longer, which he could have done, because if it had, whatever happened, if there was a problem, VAR would have rectified it anyway. So yeah, he's made a big haulix, which he's admitted to him. Fair play to him.
Yes.
But people keep saying he's a rookie as well. I'm quite surprised that Sky have been peddling that, and I think someone at half-time said it was his first game. He actually refereed 15 Premier League games last season, including one against us, which he wasn't particularly good in, but that's another story. So yeah, it was just a bad 30 seconds from start to finish.
Yeah, you're right. He refereed our home game against Everton last season. Go onto our Twitter, our X account. Nigel's put a clip up on there of me talking about the poor refereeing from Borat last November, and sure enough, more poor refereeing today, yesterday even, in the game. So 0-0. Yasmin, does this change the complexion of the game if that goal's given?
Yes, absolutely. And then obviously we know what happened next when the goal wasn't given, and then disaster. So it was a really bad mistake, and I know that they can't win either way, but admitting it was a mistake afterwards doesn't get us the points that we probably would have got.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I just think that I just wish common sense could prevail. I know it can't, Paul, as you say, but you know, 2 seconds later, and VAR can intervene. What's the point of having VAR if it can't say to the referee, look, you've really made a howler here. This is not even a free kick. You know, you've made a big mistake and you've ruled out a legitimate goal.
But that's the ridiculous thing. They tell linesmen to let it go, even when they shouldn't, and when it's obvious. But as I say, I think he was just too keen to give Brentford a free kick because he thought he shouldn't have awarded the one at the start.
So there we go.
I'll tell you what makes it worse. On Ref Watch today, Dermot Gallagher said that this guy is going to be an outstanding referee. He's a fantastic referee. He's made some mistakes, but he'll learn by him. I'm like,
outstanding. Does that mean he hasn't finished his exam?
If that's the standard of refereeing we're going to get for the future, then I fear the worst.
So I just wondered whether when he said outstanding, does that mean he hasn't finished his exams yet or something like that? You know, so.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, I just thought he had generally a poor game anyway, but yeah, that decision was just farcical.
Yeah, so it's so referee Sam Barrott, can't even spell Barrett. So yeah, okay, thank you, Paul Bristow, for that insight. Yeah, so 0-0, and Yasmin, you alluded to it. Fergus, do you want to carry on? What happened next?
Yeah, well, within 3 minutes, Brentford go up the other end and score. Again, and it's something that I think Brentford exploited really well yesterday, was our high press, and they exploited our wing backs, and that attack down that right-hand side. It was a swift attack, 1 pass, 2 pass, 3 pass, and then Mbeumo's in, and you know, he runs down, then he cuts back, left foot, and I thought it was a soft goal at first. I thought Henderson, it looked like it went underneath him, but then when you watch it back, I mean, Guehi and Richards both got caught out. They were too high up the park, and they were struggling to get back, which made it a little bit easier for Brentford and Mbeumo. But when he actually shoots, Guehi and Richards are both in Henderson's sight. You know, so I don't think he sees the ball until the very last second. By then, it's too late. It's underneath him and it's in the back of the net. I know a lot of people were sort of having a go at Henderson yesterday because, you know, both goals you could attribute to maybe poor goalkeeping, but I don't think it was all his fault. You know, when somebody gets that opportunity to shoot, not much you can do about it if you don't see it to the last second.
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't criticise Henderson for the first goal for sure, but we'll come to the second one later. Paul Gear.
Live update time for anyone who's got Pedro Porro
Okay.
in their fantasy team. He's just put Tottenham 1-0 up at Leicester.
Ooh, goodness me. Yeah, okay. Thanks for that. Porro
Madison
scored for
assist.
Tottenham. Oh, he was on my watch list and I never brought him in. Okay, so, yeah, listen, I think Marc Guehi could have done better. I was disappointed watching it live. I watched it obviously on TV, watching it back. I'm thinking Guehi, he's a top centre-back. Maybe it's this whole transfer business on his mind. Paul, you said at the top of the show you didn't think he had the best of games. Neither did I particularly. Didn't play badly or anything. But I just thought for that particular goal, I'd like to have seen him get a bit closer to the attacking player. Of course, Mbeumo's a good player. He's probably their talisman without Tony playing. We haven't mentioned that yet. You probably breathed a sigh of relief when you saw he wasn't lining up against us yesterday. But Mbeumo's a good player, and he proved it with the way he executed the opening goal. So, Ferg, we're going 1-0 down at half time. Anything else significant in the first half you want to bring out?
Not really. There was a weak shout for penalty on Mateta just before half time, but it wasn't. The goalkeeper. It looked like he brought him down, but he got the ball first. And then Sade. So Sade, Iburi, and Wissel. I thought all three of their attacking players had a good game yesterday for Brentford. And Sade had a very similar attempt at goal as in Mbeumo, but on the other side, just bent it wide of the post. So that was that's the last significant thing of the first half.
He was the boy that scored against us last season at Brentford, wasn't he? He was last season, and he came close. And there was another thing that happened just after the 1-0 where they had another shot sort of close to Henderson. He made a really good save, a top save that kept us in the game. Really was important.
And the last thing, just before the whistle went, Marc Guehi, the yellow card. I think most of us at the time thought it was a perfectly good tackle, but watching it back, his foot was high, his studs were up, and I think Brentford were asking for a red. But the ref settled on a yellow, thankfully.
Yeah, I don't think it was red. Definitely not. And in fact, I was in a chat with people. I think with Ian Lyons actually, he disagreed with me. I said I thought it was a harsh yellow card because he played. Yes, his studs were shown a little bit, but he played the ball first, and the player came in afterwards. So I think it's open to interpretation. But I thought it was a harsh yellow. Yasmin.
I just wanted to say, I think we got quite a few harsh yellows yesterday, and we ended up with 3, I think, of our defenders, but which quite early on as well, and that just really didn't help, I don't think.
Yeah, sure. So Anderson was booked on 22 minutes, Guehi on 46, and Richards on 58. Then Kamada on 65. So 4 players booked for Palace yesterday. So we're doing
right at the end.
Say again?
And Ayew right at the end. Ayew got booked as well. I think it was 5.
I haven't got him down as being booked, so maybe you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's not on the BBC. They got that wrong. He was booked to the end, wasn't he? 5-1 with yellow cards, says somebody. So second half, Ferg, we come out second half. What do you reckon Glasner said to him at half time?
Well, so 2 things. Somebody overheard him talking to his coaches in the first half. He turned around to them and said, "What are we doing in training? Does anyone shoot?" So I think he was frustrated at the fact that, we were tip-tapping the ball around, not really testing their goalkeeper. So I think he was frustrated at that. So I think that would have been one of his half-time team talks would be, when you get the ball, if you've got an opportunity, just shoot. Yeah, Paul, do you want to come in?
Yeah, which was noticeable because Adam Walton had about 2-3 shots in the first 10 minutes.
Exactly, yeah.
He hit one that was deflected, which just went inches wide, and then he hit a good 25-yarder. The keeper parried. So, yeah, I think they were definitely told. And it's been noticeable in the first half and in the friendly last week. They were trying to walk the ball in the net sometimes. You need to shoot on sight sometimes. So, yeah, it was Stephen Warnock heard that apparently, and he reported it on BBC Radio. But, yeah, we came out, as Ferg said, we were on the front foot. And it was, we were pressing them, and we were pressing them back and creating problems. And it was probably only a matter of time, really, of if anyone was going to score, it was going to be us.
And I've got a public apology to make to you, Yasmin. Well, not quite a public apology, but I think you have walked in your fantasy team, don't you? I think on yesterday's showing, I thought he looks good value for his 5.0 in fantasy. He really does, you know, the way he took the shots on. And I think he will score goals. So I think getting him in your team is a shrewd move,
Thank you.
young lady. Yeah, very good.
He was really unlucky.
He
You
was.
know, it was just one of those days, I think. You know, our luck wasn't in. You know, we could have had 4 or 5 goals had our luck been a little bit better, especially like that's what I was going to allude to, the Walton shots in the second half, early in the second half. You know,
okay, so we've got to move on. Let's talk about the goal. Let's talk about the goal that was offside. Let's talk about their winning goal. So first of all, our equaliser.
Yeah, so the equaliser was Sir Mitchell broke down the left. He crossed the ball right over to the back post. Munoz out jumped their defender, headed it back, and Pinnock, unfortunately for him, takes it into his own net. So 1-1. I don't know if Munoz gets an assist for that.
He does.
Football,
he does. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Got an assist for
I've got him.
Same.
Yeah. So, but I thought Pinnock was probably their best. He was outstanding yesterday. Pinnock at the back. I thought he played well for them. But yeah. So that was 1-1. Edwards put a lot. You know, he'd obviously come on from Mateta at half time. I don't think Mateta was injured. I just think he was exhausted. It was a hot day.
Yeah.
But yeah, Edward was putting pressure on Pinnock. So early contribution for Edward. Yeah, so there we are. It's 1-1. I don't know if anybody else wants to have their say on the goal.
I just think it was all we deserved, wasn't it? You know, given the balance of play and the chances created and the possession, and we look at the stats at the end, it's all we deserved to get back on level terms. And then we had a little bit of a purple patch after that, didn't we? And we started to look good again. And, you know, I said to the bloke in the pub, who really wasn't interested in talking to me. I don't know who he supported. He wasn't Palace. And I said to him, only one team going to win this now. It's Palace. And, of course, I got it horribly wrong. So I walked out of that pub sort of bit sheepish with all these Chelsea fans waiting to watch the next game. And, yeah, so it was an interesting one. The goal that was offside then took us through that, Fergus, because some people are saying it wasn't offside. Some people are saying it was offside. But talk us through this.
Yeah, so me and Paul and Gaz were actually sat directly in line with this when it happened, and I think, I mean, we all we did celebrate, but I think it was with an air of caution because it did look offside when it happened, when that ball was crossed. I think he just went a fraction too early, and you're always hoping that, well, okay, it looks offside, but it's not, and it'll go to VAR and the goal will be given. And I think when you watched it back and drew the lines, it was actually closer than everybody thought. He looked clearly offside at the time, but then when you watch it back, it was so tight. I mean, you're talking about inches. So yeah, probably, you know, you'd expect better from Edouard, but you know, if he was 2 yards offside, it'd be frustrating. But the fact that it was inches, you know, you can't really have a go at him. Yeah, it was a great finish.
Well, he made the initial run. I mean, Eze got the ball and Edouard made his run. And if he'd have played it first time, he'd have been onside and he probably would have scored. But Eze held on to it for a couple of touches, and Edouard was trying to get back on it. And as Ferg says, it was closer than I thought it was, I must admit. But I think that there's lots of angles online of how it's not offside. But you can make a picture look anything. But I think he was just.
I mean, we've been moaning about this for a season or two now, saying VAR decisions take too long. This one, for me, didn't take long enough. You know, I didn't see any lines drawn yesterday, and they just say it's offside, and it's quickly.
But they're not drawing lines anymore, are they? They're using this semi-automated stuff, which is not fully operational for the public in that they can see it from their end, but they can't get it's coming, but they can't get the graphic, which proves it for him.
Right.
But just a quick one on that VAR. They said in the summer that they were going to make it a lot better experience for the fan in the ground. When Eze's goal in the first half went on, we were there was nothing on their screens. There was nothing. We were just in bemusement land. It was actually worse than normal because at least normally there's a thing on the thing that says VAR check or something. But that still needs fine tuning. Clearly,
clearly does. Yeah, totally. Good. Okay, fine. So we're still 1-1, and I think there's only one team going to win it, but I was totally wrong.
Yeah,
Brentford got up the other end and sneak one.
It looked that way, didn't it? I can't remember the guy's name. I think it was their number 22. he'd been frustrating all the way through the game. He went off and changed his boots, and the referee allowed him to come back on the pitch instead of making him walk round. And he was very cynical fouls, and he wasn't getting booked. And then he found himself in the middle of the box, swiveled and shot. And unfortunately, it's clipped to Munoz, so it's deflected. So Henderson's already gone down, expecting to make the first save. It's clipped to Munoz and pushed it further to the left. So he's had to get up off the floor and go again, which meant when he's pushed the ball away, he's not got as much power behind it. And unfortunately, Wissa, I don't think he knew much about it, did he? He kind of ran onto it and bobbled it in over the line. But really, really frustrating because, like you said, we were going to kick on there and win that game. We'd made a few substitutions because I think the team in general looked tired, slightly off the pace. We can probably cover that at the end of the game. But it's just, and then you're thinking, right, okay, well, we've still got plenty of time to get an equaliser. But yeah, very frustrating.
Still optimistic then at 2-1 down in the ground?
Yeah, it was. It's just typical Palace, isn't it? We'll be on top for 20 minutes and then concede a goal, and then you're like, but it's nothing you've seen before. So you're just like, right, okay, we've got the players to get that goal back. Yes. Yeah,
Yasmin.
I just thought it was frustrating. Near the end, it was almost like we were playing like we were the ones 2-1 up and passing it back, and all these little passes at the back, and you're just thinking, just get it forward. And we've got like 2 minutes. Come on, and that was a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I was screaming at the telly in this pub. People were looking at me as if I was completely mad. Get the ball in the box. I kept saying, get the ball in the box. As 90 minutes came up with 4 minutes of added time. And there was one effort that Eze had at 2-1 where he stung the palms of Flecken, didn't he? Really good shot. Flecken, pulled something out of his locker that was a bit special for him. Decent goalkeeper, to be fair.
There was also a foul on Eze on the edge of the box. I think it might have just been outside, but we didn't even get a free kick for it. And the guy went straight through the back of him. Yeah.
I think what will come out of this game unquestionably is that this Borat bloke is he's going to spend some time in the Championship, isn't he? He should do. He can't referee in the top flight having that on his CV. It's just appalling. So there we go. Anything else any of you want to say about the game that we haven't covered?
Substitutions. Yeah, the substitutions. So I think everyone was surprised to see Wharton go off. But again, I don't know if it was Stephen Warnock or someone else that was close by. I had heard him when he walked off the pitch, sat down with the other subs. He said, I'm absolutely, a swear word, but which I won't say on air. But so Wharton was obviously, knackered, absolutely shot. So
I think there was an element of protection there. As you say, it was a hot day.
Yeah.
It's the first game. He's had less pre-season games because of the England stuff. And you had Lerma and Decore on the bench. It's good to get them on the pitch and give them minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see how those 4 get into 2 anyway. So, as I say, they could have taken any of them off yesterday. As I say, I think they all got leggier. Brentford made 5 subs as well. I think it was that kind of day, first game season. So, I think it was just luck of the draw who went off.
Yeah, and after 74 minutes, Adam Wharton had a really good 74 minutes, and you're bringing a player of the quality of Jefferson Lerma off the bench to replace him. I haven't got a problem with that at all. I really haven't. Interesting. The Sarr substitution was, a forward player for a defender on 84 minutes. So we are throwing something at it. I don't really remember Sarr doing very much, if I'm honest.
He had 2 touches.
Did he?
2 touches from when he came on. Yeah.
There we go. All right, guys. Look, disappointing result. Obviously, we're all disappointed yesterday. It hurts even 24 hours later, doesn't it? It doesn't get a lot easier. 2-1 is the final result. It's the first time they've beaten us in the Premier League since they've been back, Brentford. They got promoted, of course, 3 years ago. Prior to this, we'd had 6 games. We'd won 1 and 5 had been draws. It was a 1-1 draw specialist coupon guaranteed result, really, for a lot of people. But they're the stats. 54% possession, Crystal Palace. We had more shots than them. We had more shots on target. We had more corners. We had more passes completed. less free kicks, and less and more offsides. There we go. So first game done. 37 to go, guys. So it's easy, this Premier League lark, isn't it, Yasmin? You're on mute, darling.
What? Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say something about Eze's interview after the game, where he spoke about the referee apologising for his mistake. And then I don't know if I was imagining it, but when he said that he hopes it evens out over the season, I thought, oh, maybe we can try it on like Liverpool did when they had a mistake in their game early on in the season. I think it was against Tottenham. So I think that was Eze kind of like putting it out there to all the referees.
Exactly. Yeah, he said, didn't he? He said, I'd like to hope decisions even themselves out over the course of a season. Again, very magnanimous in defeat, similar to Glasner's comments post-match. He said there were many tight decisions, mostly were against us. But he did say about Sam Barrett, or Barrett, whatever his name is, admitting he made a mistake by blowing the whistle too early. It shows he's a great man, a good guy. I'm not sure many of us agree with you, Oliver, there, but there we are.
Hopefully he'll remember that next time he refs us.
Yeah, absolutely, and sure enough, he will ref us again, won't he? This season, you know, we're gonna get him again.
To be fair, though, most refs wouldn't admit they'd made a mistake, would they? So I think it was refreshing to actually hear one say, "Yeah, look, okay, I messed up."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, we're going to move on from that. I just want to cover off a few things that we normally cover off at this show. Results of other teams. It's not all about the first 11 at Crystal Palace, although it feels like that a lot of the time. On Friday, the 17th of August, in the Premier League Division 2, Palace under-21s were due to play Fulham under-21s. The match was postponed due to an insufficient level of player medical care. That's something I've never, ever come across before, but their game was called off. A lack of an ambulance on site. Under-18s on Saturday, they played Spurs away at the Tottenham Hotspur Training Centre, and they lost 6-4, so that'll be one to bring the crowds back. And then the women, they're currently on tour in America. We heard from a guy last week talking about the women's team in some detail. They lost to Utah Royals 3-0 on tour. So there we go. Also, guys, loan watch. We've got players out on loan at the moment. So Yasmin, Alice will be interested in this one. Joe Whitworth, he's out with playing for Exeter City on the season-long loan. They played the full 90 minutes, of course. They lost 2-1 away at Northampton Town. Teo Adaramola was not in the match squad for Stockport County. This one was better, though. Danny Imre. He got all the plaudits as he got an assist for Bromley in a 2-0 win against AFC Wimbledon. And in goal for Wimbledon was Owen Goodman, also on loan from Crystal Palace. Bromley won 2-0. They've played twice now in League Two, and they've won them both. I think they could be a good shout for back-to-back promotions, to be fair. David Ozo, he's on loan at Derby County in the Championship. He played 76 minutes as Derby beat Borough 1-0. Malcolm Aboe, he stayed on the Oxford bench for the entire match as they lost to Coventry. Ademola Ola Adebomi, he played the full 90, was booked in 56th minute for the Belgian side SK Beveren as they won 2-1. Jezrag Saki, this is the big loan move, I think, for us. We weren't expecting necessarily Jezrag Saki to go out on loan. Many people thought it might be a good move for him. He came off the bench for Sheffield United in the 91st minute. Sheffield United drew 2-2 with QPR. And then Luke Plange came off the bench in the 67th minute for HJK Helsinki. They won 3-0. Now, Jack Raksaki, he had sort of 2 or 3 minutes at the end of Sheffield United's game. Anyone know why he didn't play any longer than that? There was a good reason, apparently. Anyone read this? No? Okay, well, I'll tell you then. So apparently, Palace have advised Sheffield United not to play him very much to begin with. 10 minutes maximum, they said, in the first game, because he just hasn't trained enough. And although he'd been in Sheffield, he'd been up there since Tuesday, the paperwork wasn't done till Thursday, didn't train till Thursday and Friday, and they felt that he didn't have enough more than 10 or 15 minutes in the tank. And his game time will be increased, but that's the reason he had such a late substitution. I don't know why we're talking about Sheffield United in detail on this show, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. So that's the Loan Watch, guys. I want to mention also tonight the Fan Advisory Board. There is a survey. Who's completed this Fan Advisory Board survey? Any of you guys?
Yeah, done that.
Okay, tell us about it, Ferg, then. Tell us briefly. What is it? It takes a few minutes, is that right?
Yeah, well, 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah, I can't actually remember what the questions were, but I answered them anyway. And I actually gave them some feedback as well, saying that I'm looking forward to some of the output, seeing, something tangible happen around the club on the back of FAB.
Fair enough. So that's where you need to go to, guys. So if you're watching this show tonight, please go to cpfc.co.uk/supporters/fan-advisory-board/ and that will take you through to the survey. And they're really encouraging all Palace fans to complete this survey. It really won't take you very long, 2 or 3 minutes, and they will value your comments. We talked earlier about Marc Guehi. What about the rest of the window? Anyone else we might lose? Anyone else we might get in? What do we need to do for this squad to make it ready for this Premier League season? We've got until the 30th of August to do it. Paul Guehi, you've always got an opinion on this.
Yeah, again, it's all about, I think, outgoing. I think there will be a couple coming in. I think they want a striker still. There's still some rumours going about Eddie Nketiah, whether that's because Edouard's not happy or going to want to be on the bench. Who knows? Whether they just want more competition. The good news, I think, is by all accounts, Eze's release clause has expired. So if he is to be prized away from us now, it will be on our terms and probably for more money than the reported 65 million anyway. So I'd like to think we'll keep who we want to keep now. It's possible. I think Ayew might go. Players who see their days are numbered and they'll be bench players if they have a better option elsewhere where they'll be playing minutes. I think he'd probably walk into the Leicester team having glanced at what they're doing tonight. So it might, and obviously that will necessitate a replacement. So it's going to be just see what Mark's put there. Yeah, it's all about output. If we stay as we are, I think we'll be happy to go ahead with that. Obviously, anyone goes, they need to replace them. So it's 2 week, a week and a half, isn't it? Friday week, the deadline. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see.
It can't come soon enough, can it? At the end of this window, really, I don't think for us. One player I just can't imagine losing, having watched yesterday, is Eze. I mean, he was so good. Everything went through him. He pulled all the strings. Obviously, he was unlucky not to get the goal. He had so many other chances. Basically, everything goes through him, doesn't it, Paul?
Yeah, it will be interesting to see that, actually, because obviously the end of last season was great, but we had the double threat of Elise and Eze, so defences were a bit strong. I saw Dawn put earlier about what did we think of Kamada. He looked a bit leggy, I think, throughout the game, but I was watching him a bit because I've sort of taken a bit of an interest in him after seeing him at Crawley and against Nantes. And he makes a lot of, I think he's a very intelligent footballer. He makes a lot of very intelligent through runs trying to cut through defences, but whether our midfield's not forward thinking enough or just weren't ready for that at the point, he could have been played through a number of times. He made some very good runs, but he just wasn't found. So I think given a few games and a bit of a run, I think once the team get used to that, he will be another threat. But that will obviously, again, take people off Eze, because at the moment Eze's back as our main threat, so he will be double teamed, double defended. So it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, as I say, anything to keep him at the club is good news. So yeah, he's not going to be stolen off us at this point. If he goes, it's our terms.
Yeah.
You can't argue if someone says
we don't want to be one-dimensional like we were under Zaha, do we? And everyone's just focused on Eze and no one else. Well, I mean, I've got a couple of other players Ian, that we're looking at. Philip Kostic from Juventus. I think he's one that might come in, push Mitchell for a place. You mentioned Lacroix and Nketiah. Robin Gosens, I think he's Union Berlin. I think he's another sort of defensive wing back. And the other one, Archie Brown from Genk. His name keeps coming up as well. And of course, Zaha, but I think Parish has already, he said having back in a heartbeat, but he didn't actually say tax. But I think there's some tax implications that means that he can't return to the UK.
Interesting question from Dawn. She says, "Does Kamada get in the way of Munoz down the right?" What do we think about that?
They're new together. They've got to take time to gel together, know each other's games. So there may have been a couple of times that they sort of interfered with each other, but I think that will just be worked on as they go.
Yeah,
I wanted to mention it. Like the pre-season reminds me of the Singapore Australia tour, where half the squad were here, half the squad were in Australia, and we've suffered a very similar thing here, where half our squad were away. It was fantastic on international competitions, and the other half were here. And I think we just need that time where the team, the squad gel and
we
play
do. And
together.
Oliver Glasner's referred to that. He talked about the fact that players were all on international duty and we haven't really had time together as a squad. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. But look, fingers crossed we get the right squad for the whole season. We're close to the end of the show now, guys. So I'm just going to move this on. On our X account on Twitter, as you'll better know it, we did a survey recently. We said, where will we finish in the Premier League? There it is. There are the results. You Crystal Palace fans have spoken. Well, 97 of you anyway. 20% said European qualification, 54 top half. So that's a 74% said top half because you had those two together. 25% same as most seasons, i.e. 12th. And only 1% thought was struggling and just survived. So, tell us in the chat what you think about that. Which of those four would you relate to? Those four options. We've got a couple of things happening. Super 6 is ongoing. I did pretty well this week. I scored 14 points. I was well pleased with myself. Got two results exactly right. Got the Palace one wrong, of course. And I think I've got another one just wrong at the last minute. I think I had 1-1 for the West Ham Villa game, and that was 1-1 for a long time until near the end. So if you don't play Super 6, you've missed a week, still time to join in. And of course, our Fantasy League, Yasmin's taken this far more seriously. She's much better at it now than she used to be. The code there is a lowercase l 71 ODM, Oscar Delta Mike, to join our Fantasy League. If you've got a fantasy team and you're not in the league yet, then do join us. And again, I think I'm joint second, guys, after the first week, which is the highest I've ever been in this league. So I know you all play, but it's just a bit of fun, isn't it? And it adds a little bit of interest in the other Premier League games that we're watching over a weekend. We've got Norwich City in the League Cup coming up. This game, as was announced last week, we play next Tuesday week, tomorrow week at Selhurst Park. After we play West Ham on the Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff, we play Norwich in the League Cup, second round. We'll come to the other games in a minute, Nigel, but I just want to get your views on this, chaps. The Arthur Weight and the Upper are closed for this game. It's £15 for adults. What are your views on these parts of the ground being closed, Fergus? Affects you because you're in the upper tier usually.
Yeah, I'm not going to go. If I can't sit in my seat, and obviously everyone else who's got a season ticket elsewhere in the ground that's open, they get the priority. So, I'm paying for a season ticket. We're playing at home, and, I have to wait for for everyone else to buy their ticket before I can get one, which is, I just think it's ridiculous.
Not even if I give you a lift from Upfield, no?
Well,
non-committal. Right, we'll move on from you. Right, okay. So is it right? It's the right thing, isn't it, to close? We're not expecting more than 15,000. We don't. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I mean it's a sad reflection. It's not an attractive tie. It's not going to get a big crowd. It's just after the bank holiday. It's 3 days after a home league game, and a few days before a local derby. It's not going to make many people. It's a conundrum about the season tickets, as Ferg says. It's not right that some season ticket holders have a seat held and some don't, but they did it a few years ago. They had it the other way where it was a free-for-all and then it wasn't fair on the other way around. So they can't win in that respect. I think anyone who wants to go will get a decent seat. It's not going to be a sellout. And at the moment, anyone who's bought their ticket now and he can't download it anyway, so we probably won't be able to get in the ground anyway, knowing that lot.
They've messed up the tickets for this already, haven't they? It's a low-key game in terms of volume of tickets, and they haven't got it right. So really, really poor. But anyway, we play on that Tuesday week. Grant Saunders says, "I'll give you a lift, Ferg, and my car is nicer." Grant, you're too right. The car is nicer.
I'll take you up on that, Grant. I'll take you up on that.
There we go. Okay. Anyway, that game is happening. And then after that, we've got Chelsea away on the Sunday. That's in front of the Sky cameras. No, it's not in front of the Sky cameras. No, it's not.
No.
I stand corrected. Yeah, that's just there because they're playing Europe, is it? In the
Correct,
week or something?
on the Thursday, yeah.
Jeez, okay. Let's hope they're tired from that. Well, then we've got newly promoted Leicester at home on the 14th of September. And then we're in front of the Sky cameras a week later at home to Man United. Hopefully a repeat of last season's game will do just nicely before our first long-distance trip of the season for the final visit to Goodison Park, which will be an interesting one for sure. How are we going to do against West Ham, guys? Let's have your predictions. I'm going to come ladies first this evening. Give us your predictions in the chat, guys. What's the score going to be when we play West Ham at home on Saturday? Yasmin, first of all.
So I think it will be 3-2 to us.
Okay, a game to bring the crowds back. 3-2, Yasmin saying. Ferg?
Let's go 3-1 Palace.
3-1. My life.
Yeah.
Break it
I'm
up.
going to bet. I'm going to bet on 2-1, but 3-1. Let's go 3-1.
And Paul?
2-0 Palace.
2-0 Palace. Yeah, I'll go 2-0 Palace as well. I think we'll win. We've got to win. It's quite an interesting one, that second game where both teams have lost their opener going into that second game, but we are at home, and I think we'll be too good for them. Well, let's hope so. Guys, it's been an hour. It's been a pleasure. We've come to the end of the show. We're back next Sunday at 8 p.m. when I hopefully, we haven't mentioned him all evening, Nick Philpott, will be back in the hot seat hosting the show. He's out sunning himself somewhere, bronzing his body, as he said on the show last week. He's not even watching. Apparently he's out to dinner. He's going to watch back. So, Nick, you're back next Sunday. I think I'm joining you. We look forward to that. So thank you to Paul. Thank you to Fergus. Thank you to Yasmin for joining us. You've done a brilliant job on your debut. You're going to be back for sure in a future show. And wish everyone a good night. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Hey, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.